As we entered the edge of the town that Sunday afternoon, we stopped at a cottage to get a drink of water. The proprietor, a middle-aged man with a good face, asked us to sit down and rest. His dame brought chairs, and we grouped ourselves in the shade of the trees by the door. Mr. Smith, that was not his name, but it will answer, questioned us about ourselves and our country, and we answered him truthfully as a general thing, and questioned him in return. It was all very simple and pleasant and sociable. Rural, too, for there was a pig and a small donkey and a hen anchored out, close at hand, by cords to their legs, on a spot that purported to be grassy. Presently a woman passed along, and although she coldly said nothing, she changed the drift of our talk. Said Smith, "She didn't look this way, you noticed. Well, she is our neighbor on one side, and there's another family that's our neighbors on the other side. But there's a general coolness all around now, and we don't speak. Yet these three families, one generation and another, have lived here side by side and been as friendly as weavers for 150 years, till about a year ago." Why? What calamity could have been powerful enough to break up so old a friendship? Well, it was too bad, but it couldn't be helped. It happened like this. About a year or more ago, rats got to pestering my place a good deal, and I set up a steel trap in my backyard. Both of these neighbors run considerable to cats, so I warned them about the trap, because their cats were pretty sociable around here nights, and they might get into trouble without my intending it. Well, they shut up their cats for a while, but you know how it is with people. They got careless, and sure enough, one night the trap took Mrs. Jones' principal tomcat into camp and finished him up. In the morning, Mrs. Jones comes here with a corpse in her arms, and cries and takes on the same as if it was a child. It was a cat by the name of Yelverton, Hector G. Yelverton, a troublesome old rip with no more principle in him than an Injun, though you couldn't make her believe it. I said all a man could to comfort her, but no, nothing would do, but I must pay for him. Finally, I said I warn't investing in cats now as much as I was, and with that she walked off in a huff, carrying the remains with her. That closed our intercourse with the Joneses. Mrs. Jones joined another church and took her tribe with her. She said she would not hold fellowship with assassins. Well, by and by comes Mrs. Brown's turn. She had a disgraceful old yellow cat that she thought as much of as he was twins, and one night he tried that trap on his neck, and it fitted him so, and was so sort of satisfactory that he laid down and curled up and stayed with it. Such was the end of Sir John Baldwin. Was that the name of the cat? The same. There's cats around here with names that would surprise you. Maria, to his wife, what was that cat's name that ate a keg of ratsbane by mistake over at Hooper's, and started home and got struck by lightning and took the blind staggers and fell in the well and was most drowned before they could fish him out? That was that colored Deacon Jackson's cat. I only remember the last end of its name, which was "Hold the fort, for I'm a-comin', Jackson." Sho, that ain't the one. That's the one that ate up the entire box of Sidlet's powders, and then hadn't any more judgment than to go and take a drink. He was considered to be a great loss, but I never could see it. Well, no matter about the names. Mrs. Brown wanted to be reasonable, but Mrs. Jones wouldn't let her. She put her up to going to law for damages. So to law she went, and had the face to claim 7 shillings and 6 pence. It made a great stir. All the neighbors went to court. Everybody took sides. It got hotter and hotter and broke up all the friendships for 300 yards around. Friendships that had lasted for generations and generations. Well, I proved by 11 witnesses that the cat was of a low character and very ornery, and weren't worth a canceled postage stamp. Anyway, taking the average of cats here. But I lost the case. What could I expect? The system is all wrong here and is bound to make revolution and bloodshed some day. You see, they give the magistrate a poor little starvation salary and then turn him loose on the public to gouge for fees and costs to live on. What is the natural result? Why, he never looks into the justice of a case, never once. All he looks at is which client has got the money. So this one piled the fees and costs and everything on me. I could pay species, don't you see, and he knew mighty well that if he put the verdict on Mrs. Brown where it belonged, he'd have to take his swag in currency. Currency? Why, is Bermuda currency? Yes, onions. And they were 40% discount, too. Then, because the season had been over as much as 3 months, so I lost my case. I had to pay for the cat. The general trouble the case made was the worst thing about it. Broke up so much good feeling. Neighbors don't speak to each other now. Mrs. Brown had named a child after me, but she changed its name right away. She was a Baptist. Well, in the course of baptizing it over again, it got drowned. I was hoping we might get to be friendly again sometime or other. But, of course, this drowning the child knocked that all out of question. It would have saved a world of heartbreak and ill blood if she had named it Dry. I knew by the sigh that this was honest, all this trouble and all this destruction of confidence in the purity of the bench on account of a 7-shilling lawsuit about a cat. Somehow it seemed to size the country. At this point we observed that an English flag had just been placed at half-mast on a building 100 yards away. I and my friends were busy in an instant trying to imagine whose death among the island dignitaries could command such a mark of respect as this. Then a shudder shook them and me at the same moment, and I knew that we had jumped to one and the same conclusion. The governor has gone to England. It is for a British admiral. At this moment, Mr. Smith noticed the flag. He said with emotion, "That's on a boarding house. I judge there's a boarder dead." A dozen other flags within view went to half-mast. "It's a boarder, sure," said Smith. "But would they half-mast the flags here for a boarder, Mr. Smith?" "Why, certainly they would, if he was dead." That seemed to size the country again.